I remember when I was a young boy in the Bahamas and my mother would kneel down, her eyes full of wisdom and concern, and say, "Miles, always be kind to everyone, no matter what." And I took that to heart. I wore it like a badge of honor. I thought kindness was the highest virtue a human being could carry. I smiled at everyone. I said yes even when I wanted to say no. I bit my tongue in the face of disrespect, and I extended my hand to people who were only reaching for it to take, not to build. But over time, I began to feel a strange hollowness. Have you ever been so kind that you felt invisible? So agreeable that you lost your sense of conviction? That was me. Kind on the outside, conflicted on the inside. You see, we've made kindness a god. We've taken the virtue and turned it into a personality trait that says, I must make everyone comfortable with me, even if I have to betray myself to do it. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Kindness without direction is destruction in disguise. I've seen people smile their way into depression. I've seen leaders who are afraid to correct their teams because they don't want to seem unkind. I've watched marriages rot because one person was too kind to tell the truth. Families fracture because nobody wanted to rock the boat. We think kindness means quiet suffering, but that's not kindness. That's fear in costume. You were not born to be soft clay in everybody's hand. You were born to be shaped by the vision God placed inside you. And sometimes that means you will have to say things that don't sound kind, but are deeply loving. Let me say that again. Loving people sometimes requires you to upset them. If a doctor finds cancer in your body, but is too kind to tell you, that's not love. That's negligence. And some of us are being negligent with our gifts, with our values, and with our truth, all in the name of a kindness that Jesus never required. Kindness has been misunderstood because we've disconnected it from truth. Real kindness is not just being nice. It's being honest. Real kindness tells the hard truth, stands firm when others waver, and knows when to walk away. I used to think I had to keep everyone close, keep everyone happy, keep everyone comfortable, but I learned that God does not bless who you pretend to be, nor the relationships you maintain just to avoid confrontation. You are not obligated to be kind to people who constantly dishonor your time, your peace, your values. And don't let guilt manipulate you into believing that rejecting disrespect is the same as being rude. It is not. If kindness is making you small, silent, or spineless, then it's not kindness, it's bondage. Oh yes, be kind, but make sure your kindness is led by the Spirit, not by the fear of rejection. Yes, because at the end of your life, you will not be judged by how many people thought you were nice. You will be judged by how faithfully you fulfilled your assignment. And sometimes Fulfilling that assignment means being kind enough to tell the truth, even when it costs you applause. Let me ask you a question that might sting a little bit. Who are you trying to impress? Who are you bending over backward for, smiling at, while your soul is frowning? Who are you trying to keep around, even though every part of your spirit is screaming that they don't belong? We've been tamed even, to believe that being accepted by everyone is a mark of success. But let me tell you, universal approval is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. If everybody agrees with you, if no one ever challenges you or walks away from you, you're probably not doing anything that matters. You're probably blending in so well that your own uniqueness has been swallowed by the crowd. You were never meant to be a chameleon, changing colors to match every environment you enter. You were designed to carry something so distinct, so disruptive, so divine, that it would naturally disturb people who are committed to comfort over truth. Some of you are exhausted, not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because you are carrying the heavy weight of keeping everyone happy. You're walking on eggshells, biting your tongue, performing in rooms where you were meant to lead, not please. And it's breaking you from the inside out. I've seen it in young leaders trying to get approval from mentors who don't even understand their assignment. I've seen it in women and men who silence their own voice in relationships because they fear being alone more than they fear being misaligned. I've seen it in pastors who water down the Word of God because they want to feed seats more than they want to feed souls. God, listen, you cannot fulfill your calling if you're enslaved to applause. You can't chase purpose and popularity at the same time. One will always betray the other. Even Jesus, our perfect model, our flawless Redeemer, was not universally approved. The same people who shouted Hosanna on Sunday were yelling crucify him by Friday. What changed? He stopped meeting their expectations and started walking in his full authority. He stopped being the miracle worker they could use and became the Messiah they had to submit to. And that's when the real rejection began. So what makes you think you can fulfill your divine assignment without upsetting some people, without being misunderstood, without being labeled difficult, arrogant, too much? Let me say this plainly. You will be too much for people who are too small for your mission. Stop shrinking to fit into their comfort zones. Stop editing your voice to make others feel at ease. You were not sent to this earth to be liked. You were sent to change something. Approval is not the same as alignment. Just because they clapped doesn't mean they're connected. Just because they follow doesn't mean they believe. And just because they're in your life doesn't mean they should stay. The moment you make peace with being misunderstood is the moment you unlock the full measure of your power. Because when you no longer need everyone to like you, you can finally lead them without fear. If you're called to be a trailblazer, stop asking for permission from people who are afraid of fire. If you're called to build, stop explaining your blueprint to people who only know how to maintain. The trap of universal approval is real, and it's seductive. But the problem with that trap is that even when you catch the applause, it won't fulfill you. Because the human soul doesn't feed on attention. It feeds on assignment. And your assignment is not for everyone. So let them go. Let them misunderstand. Let them talk. Let them question. Because you don't need everyone's approval when you have heaven's